Welcome to the School of Bravery. I'm really excited. This month we're focusing on the bravery ingredient of vision of possibility. And as always, we have a theme of the month that we focus on in the School of Bravery. And these themes are based on these 12 ingredients that are in my book, Bare Naked Bravery, that came out last year. And it's been really fun to go through these themes one at a time every month, and camp out on these themes. And one of the beautiful parts of the School of Bravery is that we get to invite some guest experts in to talk about their specialty that pertains to the month's theme. So today we have Michelle Mazur with us, who is the author of the book 3-Word Rebellion, which I'm really excited to talk with you more about this. We were just talking a little bit before the recording. And I'm just really stoked to have you here. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
And I'll also mention that there are there's 3 types of bravery. There's internal, external, and resonant bravery. And resonant bravery is what happens when someone else does something brave and then you feel like that bravery as a result. So they don't necessarily have to feel brave doing it, but you see them doing something. So you being here is a direct result of resonant bravery, because one of our students, Monica Kliosaki, she introduced me to you and invited you on the show. So I'm excited to have a full circle moment.
Oh, that's lovely. I love how that all happened.
Yeah. So fun. So tell me a little bit about you and your book, and then we'll dive into some awesome stuff.
Yeah. So I am the CEO of Communication Rebel, and I do message strategy, particularly the 3-word rebellion. And what the 3-word rebellion is, it's a one-of-a-kind message that really encapsulates the change that you want to create in the world. Because I feel as business owners, solopreneurs, the way that we're told about messaging has never felt quite right to me, right? It's like, what's your unique selling proposition? Or I help X do Y so that they can Z. Or you have building a story brand, and all of those feel so very corporate. Mm-hmm. And this really came out of me being burned out on what my business used to be. And we can talk about that more later.
Sure.
And also just taking some time and some space to be like, I have this why that communication changes the world. My current business and the way I'm talking about it isn't actually letting me do that. Mm-hmm. And so I spent some time just sitting back and being like, where am I going? What am I doing? And during that time, I noticed a pattern. And the pattern that I noticed was, some of my favorite entrepreneurs, my favorite people had messages that you could summarize in 3 words, like Simon Sinek and Start With Why, or Mel Robbins and the 5-second rule. And I also really love politics and political movements. And at that time, all of the political social movements were starting to happen. So Time's Up, Me Too, even Make America Great Again, Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. Social movements do the same thing. They're trying to make a change. They can encapsulate that change. And that's what these entrepreneurs are doing. And I thought, I wonder if I took questions from social movements, like questions like, what are you rebelling against? What change do you want to create? And would let my clients write on those, and then we could analyze them for themes and patterns. Could we find their message? And the answer was yes, because your message, the thing you want to be known for, already exists. It's just hiding under layers and layers of stuff. And when I found that, I was like, okay, this works. What is it? And I was chatting with a friend of mine, and she was like, oh, I think it's the 3-word speech. And I'm like, super close, but I don't want to be doing speaking stuff. like super close. And then I sat with it and literally, like I always say, your 3-word rebellion exists. It was right there in my brand name, Communication Rebel. It's the 3-word rebellion. And so my natural instinct is, as a former academic, is to write a book. So that is what I did. And in the book, I just lay out, well, it's kind of, I lay out like the necessary prerequisites that you have to embrace a message like this and to be a steward of it in the world, because it takes being different. It takes blazing your own path. It takes leadership and devotion to your people. And then it's like, okay, once you know what's required, then you can go through the process of it. And then we can figure out how to launch that message into the world. And what are the other pieces of messaging you need? So that is, so that's what I'm doing in my business. I work mainly one-on-one. I'm selling the book. That's what I do.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think I just finished reading Sharon Rowe's book, The Magic of Tiny Business, which I have thoughts on. I'll save them for another podcast episode. We don't have to talk about that right now.
Okay.
But because I don't fully agree with how she did things, but I love the idea that you can have a really massive change, because I believe it. You can have a really massive change just as one person.
I believe that too, because I'm still very much a one-person business. I have some help for sure.
Yep.
But I mean, I'm the one doing the work. And I think when we're in a change-making business, what's super cool about it is like we deliver a transformation to our clients, and then there's a ripple effect from that. Like Absolutely. It just ripples out. And so they're able to change people, and who knows how many people they're able to change. So you can be this one like contained unit and have a huge impact and be a leader of a movement within your industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. So your book comes out when?
It's out now.
Great.
So,
awesome.
Yes.
Great.
Everywhere books are sold.
Awesome. Great. Sometimes when I interview people that's not quite out yet does. So when we were talking about scheduling this interview, I was like, oh, I would really love, like, her book's theme really corresponds with, there's another bravery ingredient of defiant expectation. And I was like, oh, that sounds so appropriate. But I don't want to have to wait so long, like to have her, release her episode. So, so let's talk a little bit, since this month's theme is vision of possibility. If you find yourself holding your 3-word rebellion in one hand and your future in another, even if the future is like kind of fuzzy, let's talk about like, what do you do then?
Yeah. So I have a very energetic, strange, a bit of woo-woo relationship with the 3-word rebellion. So what you end up doing is now you get to lead with that message. And honestly, like I just released this book a week ago, and I don't know where this book is going to take me. I do not have a clear, defined path. As I feel into it, I know this book is going to make an impact. It has a very different energy around it. But I believe that this book is its own entity. And when you start leading with that message and just putting it out there, showing up, sharing it, things start to open up for you that you could have never, ever seen for yourself. And yeah, you can look to other people that you admire who have 3-word rebellions. And we were talking about this right before the show and be like, oh, I like a little bit of that and a little bit of that. And that can help you define your vision. But I think part of it is trusting that message is going to get into the hands of the people who need it. And you are the steward, you are the one out there sharing it and letting it do its own thing. Because it's been amazing, like since I've released this book, like I've gotten podcast opportunities that I've never thought I would get before. And it wasn't from me like pitching them. It was from them finding out about the 3-word rebellion and saying, whoa, this is amazing. I want to hear about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that this message is out there to make a difference, and my business is out there to make a difference. And I know, like, I feel like it's going to have a big impact, but I don't know what that is. And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're like, okay, my next step is to share this as much as I can with as many people as I can, get the book into as many hands as I can. And that's all I'm focused on. I don't know where that's going to lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about, when, how do you know that you need a 3-word rebellion?
I think,
what are some of the symptoms that are going to show up in your business if you know that you can't envision for yourself your own 3-word rebellion?
Yes, I think number one, people are a bit confused about what you do and who you serve and who you're for and what you stand for. So talking about like defying expectations, like when people are confused about that, when your business kind of plateaus and either, your audience stops growing or you're not getting as many clients as you would like to get, I think that's a sign you could use a 3-word rebellion. And also when you feel like you have a lot of quote unquote competition, right? So if you are some kind of a coach and you also know you're a little bit different from everyone else that's out there, right? But the way you're talking about your business is allowing you to blend in, because what the 3-word rebellion is really great at is positioning you as the only person who does what you do. And part of the messaging that goes into this is really, I want to say codifying, that is not the right word, but formalizing like the process that you have when you're working with people so that they know like, oh, if I want this, I have to go to her. So like if there's no one else who does 3-word rebellions, I'm the only person who does that. And that's a really powerful position because there's a lot of people who do brand messaging, right? Tons of people. But if you want this type of message, I'm the only game in town. So it does create that possibility. And all this, and for me personally, like it got me out of the comparison trap. Like I was always looking at like, what's my competition doing? What are they saying? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't care. Because the people who are attracted to this message will choose me ultimately. Right. And if they're not attracted to it, there's so many other people who can help them. And that's a wonderful thing.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. It's really fascinating that, like when you feel like I'll say this, what I have seen from the students of the School of Bravery and from readers of my 3-word rebellion, Bare Naked Bravery, is that when you lack your vision of possibility, the thing that you're trying to do feels more impossible. And fear has an easier time winning in that case. So things like comparison, things like imposter syndrome, things like procrastination or resistance with a capital R, all of those things they end up winning more often than they should because your lack of vision of possibility is keeping you from knowing where to take the next step.
Yes.
So I see that this is really, really powerful. So thank you for putting it out there. For sure.
Oh, yes. And I feel the same way too, because when you don't know exactly where you're going, but you have this message that you are proud of, excited to share every day, committed to, like you're committed to your partner, it's an amazing feeling because all of a sudden showing up to share the message feels easy. Like there's not a lot of like, oh, I have to talk about this thing again today. I don't want to, but I know I need to show up.
Yeah.
when you have this and you're like, okay, I don't know where this is going to take me, but I am compelled to share it because it's important for people to know about. So different.
It's so true. Do you, working with some of your clients and helping them see their vision, their three-word rebellion.
Yeah.
What has been some of the like before after stories that you feel you can share if you can?
Yeah, that's a great question. This is so strange. So I ended up working with a fitness studio, and I was like, what the heck? Like when I first got the inquiry, and I was like, why would a fitness studio ever want to work with me? And I'm like, I don't understand. And then I got on the phone with them, and I totally did, because they were approaching health and wellness and fitness completely different. Yes, you could go work out there, and yes, they'd give you a nutrition plan, but they also provided coaching, community, training on habit formation, like all of this other stuff. And it was so different from any other gym. And they couldn't communicate about it. Like they'd have to sit down with people for 30 minutes and be like, let me tell you about how we do things a little bit differently and why this is actually $300 a month instead of $20 a month. And once people got it, they were like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I need. And like they had zero churn in their membership, right? Like once people were in, they were in for life. And so their problem was they couldn't communicate that, like how they're different. And so once we worked on their 3-word rebellion and we really figured out like, how do you visually display the process, the journey you take people through, everything started to change in their business. So people were no longer saying like, oh, why do you charge so much? You're just a gym. They're like, oh, no. This is a whole different thing. I get what it's about. So people would start showing up and coming into their business. And so that's just an amazing thing. Like they knew that their inability to talk about what they do and how they do it was really holding them back. And then once they nailed it, it was like, okay, let's get out there, and people are responding. And I think that's, no matter what the business you're in, finding that message that your people will notice and respond to, that makes all the difference.
Yeah. So one like symptom I see or hear you are saying is that if you don't know your 3-word rebellion, it takes you a long time to get clients. It takes you a long time to explain what you do to somebody.
Yes.
And then it also, people are your retention, your client retention, or your customer retention rate, or fan rate, whatever.
Yes, your fan base, your fanatics. Yes.
Whatever your audience noun is, they kind of are on an outward going wheel, or what do you call that?
Yeah, they keep coming back.
Thank you.
Those
are the words, whatever. So, okay, great. Well, so now what?
Now
what? I mean, like when you figure out that you I need this 3-word rebellion. I've got all these mushy parts around my vision. I know that I need a 3-word rebellion. Obviously, read Michelle's book because she's got a lot of good things to say. But what are some like first steps between the 3 Amazon Prime days that the book's
The first steps that you can start doing right away is that the 3-word rebellion is based all in free writing. So start answering or journaling, or if you're an extrovert and like to talk it out, like record it and get that transcribed. But start answering some of the questions. So the questions that I have people free write around are things like, what are you rebelling against? And don't hold back. You don't just have to make it about your business. You can make it about bigger things too, but your business should definitely be included in there. So what are you rebelling against? What ticks you off? Like, what do you see that really, really makes you angry? And then, because it's never enough just to rebel, because if we're rebelling against something, we have to replace the current system with something else. So then the second part of this is answering questions about the change you want to create in the world. And this part is always tricky for people because your brain immediately wants to go like, well, how am I going to do that? And it's like, no, 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 no. This is not about the how. It's about getting into that what if. What if the world could be like this? So answering the question, what change do you want to see in the world? Or using the prompt, I want to live in a world where, and just letting yourself write and not worrying about, is this the right thing to say, or all the shoulds, or like your spelling or grammar or anything else, because all of that serves as the raw material that can create your 3-word rebellion. Also, I promise it will generate a ton of content for you to talk about. Like, I am amazed sometimes when I work with clients, like they can walk away with like 6 pages of ideas for content. Like somebody contacted me once and she just did like the freebie version. And she's like, I came up with 75 things to talk about. And I'm like, that's amazing. Cause that's what you want. Right. And it's all under the, the umbrella of like, what am I taking a stand against and what do I want to create?
Yeah. I think that's super important. I'm glad you bring up the both the positive and the negative space that that you want your 3-word rebellion to fill, because you get that like you can just be defiant just for the sake of defiance, but like
and I mean, and if you think about it from like a social movement standpoint, like a few years ago we had the the Occupy Wall Street movement in the US. And it was like, yeah, we're against the, the 99% control, or the 1% controlling most of the wealth and blah, blah, blah. But they had no leadership and they didn't know what they wanted to replace the system with. So so that movement died out because they didn't take the time to actually think about what is it that we're creating. Because if you tear down something, you're leaving a vacuum. And it needs to be filled. And so your choice in that moment is, do I fill it with something amazing that I can help shape and create? Or do I let someone else come along and do it? And oh my gosh, what else could they put in that place? It might be far worse.
Yeah, that's important. We've interviewed my friend and songwriter colleague, Naomi Washira, a couple times for the podcast. And she, I always, anytime I'm sitting down and I'm writing a song, I always am thinking about the fact that she in her mind, before she writes a song, she knows that, or she wants her music to make the world a better place. And so every song that she writes is like geared towards that. Because as you know, when you are creating content as a business owner, you don't have to be an artist, but just as a business owner, you're creating content. You can just gripe about stuff and not be helping anything at all. Like very similar to, you could write a sad song and have it not get anything, like not that art has to accomplish anything, but if it's just sad for the sake of sad, where is it ends up feeling vapid at the end of the day, and very similar, like social media content, if it's just like a selfie for the sake of a selfie,
or ranty for the sake of being ranty, and you're not proposing anything that's new or different, or you're not making people think about things in a different way. It's like, what's the point of this? Like, what's the point of me following you when, I agree, that's messed up.
Yeah.
But now what?
Right. So I'm really glad that you have the both both hands, both pushes to like rebel, but like make some change happen afterwards. Or despite it, or in spite of it. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. This has been so cool. So the way that, if you're new to listening to the show, the way that these things work is we do an awesome guest interview, guest expert interview, and you guys have access to this. But if you are a student of the School of Bravery, then you also get access to our entire library of guest expert trainings. So Michelle and I are going to go hop over and do a training on exactly, like, we're going to roll up our sleeves and get some dirt under the fingernails of how to like build some 3-word rebellion stuff for you guys. So if you want in on that, you can go to schoolofbravery.com and just go futz around on the website until you figure out which button feels the right one to click, and we'll see you on the inside. And other than that, you please remember to subscribe in whatever format you would like to. The School of Bravery podcast and show is on YouTube and Spotify and all the podcast places and things like that. So we would love to have you subscribe to those things too. And go check out Michelle and her book, Michelle Mazur and the 3-Word Rebellion, and her book's on Amazon and all the places books are sold online. And it's available in paperback and
just paperback.
Oh, just paperback.
Yeah, because I want you to actually use the book. There's all kinds of activities and exercises. The book wants you to use it, to take it to coffee, to spill wine on it. Use the book.
And I've seen the insides of it, and it is beautiful. So you did an excellent job on the insides of it. Nicely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Michelle. And we will see you over in the training in a little bit.